Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam, ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. I want to talk about something which is very pertinent for our Muslim convert brothers and sisters. One of the most difficult challenges facing us as reverts or converts, whichever words you like to use, it's up to you, is dealing with family ties. And this can be a complex and delicate process, and it needs a lot of patience and wisdom, right? And embarking on your Islamic journey, becoming a Muslim, you can face a lot of challenges at the beginning, especially at the beginning. And sometimes our family members don't always embrace and accept that. Sometimes we're lucky. So alhamdulillah, for example, for me, it wasn't a huge issue, wallah alhamd. But there are those that face challenges because of the different beliefs held and also the false assumptions many non-Muslims have about Islam and the Muslims. So I hope to give some tips of advice on how we can maybe make this go a little bit smoother. So some of the main challenges, so before we start, let's talk about some of the main challenges that we face. So first of all, we have our family members, they fear radicalization. You're going to become this terrorist supporter, go join the Taliban or something. Yeah. Another problem are some of the cultural differences. Now, the first one, the radicalization, usually it's baseless. There are the odd, rare exception where, unfortunately, brothers and sisters do get radicalized. This does happen. We can't turn away from this. And it's the job of the Muslim society and community to combat as well and to help prevent this through the correct education of revert Muslims. And second is the cultural differences. Now, this is actually pretty real and can be pretty challenging. So things like our dietary requirements, certain holidays, certain social interactions between the genders, this can be quite challenging. The next is religious disagreements, things like, Christmas and, as we mentioned, Christmas, Easter, or these types of things, or other, if you come from a Hindu background or you come from Jewish background or any other religious background. And just differing in the conversation at the table, at the dinner table about, religion can also be quite stressful and tricky to deal with. And then the next challenge, and I think is a very difficult one, is the loss of shared traditions. Like, we used to do Christmas together. We used to go and do Easter together. We used to partake in these events and traditions and celebrations as a family unit. And now I may have to withdraw completely. And this can be quite tough for your family as well, and frustrating for them and for you, as a Muslim. Okay. And then the next one is social isolation, right? So you might find that your family find that you're neglecting them, that you've socially neglected them. Like, you're always with the Muslims, you're always with the brothers or the sisters at the masjid, giving dawah, and you're out a lot more and you're away from them a lot more. So some strategies we can do to deal with this is number one, and I think is the most important as a Muslim, is to constantly make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps you firm upon Islam, and He opens up the hearts of those loved ones to you, to Al-Islam, and He makes your affairs easy. So that's the first one, okay? The next step, I think is very vital, is open and honest communication. So, be clear on what you believe, politely, respectfully, okay? Communicate your reasons why you entered Islam and why you believe Islam is the truth, and listen to them. Listen to some of their, concerns and worries, and explain that, I'm still me. I'm still the same person. I have a different belief. Yes, There are some rituals that I partake in. There are some beliefs that I hold that are different. But as a human, I'm the same human. Islam does not come to remove your personality, to totally remove your culture. It's come to adjust and change the things which are negative in your personality and in your culture. Show them the positive change. Okay? Actions speak louder than words. Okay? There's no point talking about Islam's great, it's the best, it's the best. Show them. Show them. This will relieve most of the worries. Show them that you're polite, that you're someone who keeps the family bonds, because it's an Islamic duty. To keep the family bond is an Islamic duty, right? So keep a good relationship with them. Show them that, you no longer curse, you don't use bad language, you've rectified a lot of your old bad ways, if you had some. You're not someone who always constantly argues and rough and tough. Show them that Islam has affected your life positively. Next, respect the boundaries. Realize, okay, I'm not going to change everything in one day. I might not change anything. And just as I expect them to respect my new beliefs and traditions, I do have to have some degree of respect for them in those aspects. I'm not saying you partake in the religious festivals and these types of things, which are, in general prohibited in Islam, celebrating Christmas and Easter and such. But what I'm saying is understand that they're going to do these things. And if it's their house, it's their right. I can't stop them. And it's in their, it's in a non-Islamic environment at the same time. So we got to be realistic. I can't expect them to stop Christmas for me. Yeah, and change. So keep boundaries and keep it clear and polite at all times. Okay. Another key point, which is kind of related to the traditions, and that is that, keep family traditions that are not religious. So you used to go camping together, every year. Keep going camping with them, right? You used to go on family. You have a family tradition where, I don't know, you go skiing together or you go to the beach together, or, as long as things are kept in the Islamic parameters, keep as much of your family traditions as possible. This will keep the connection, keep the bonds, and will help them to accept who you've become a lot easier, because they're not haram. If they're not haram, if it's a dunyawi, a family tradition that's just based on, we tend to get together on this day to go watch a certain sport or partake in a certain activity, there's no religious connotation to it, then there's no harm in you doing so. Next, seek support. Educate yourself. Educate yourself and educate your family. You can't educate if you don't educate yourself. There's no point having these big, long debates and discussions if you've been Muslim for, a few weeks, a few months. You're still learning. You're going to tell them things are haram, and then 5, 6 years later, 3 years later, 2 months later, you're going to find out that they weren't actually haram, and you're not going to look, very clever. Yeah, and then they're going to think, this is just a joke. He's just wishy-washy. Be careful. Before you have this, strong attachment to certain opinions and views and you push it onto your family, realize that maybe you don't know. So learn correctly. Find support in the masjid from, now alhamdulillah we have online facilities. Find a sheikh, find teachers to learn your religion systematically, and approach issues with knowledge and support. And if you don't know, just say, I don't know, and speak to people who do know. And then that way you can educate your family. You can educate them on the reality of Islam. It's a peaceful religion. We're not here to terrorize people. I'm not going to go run off into the mountains and blow things up. This is not what I'm being a Muslim for. It's to worship the one true creator and to follow his final messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that I can enter Jannah and to better me as a person. This is the goal, right? The establishment of the worship of the one true creator. Maintain contact with them. So keep in contact with their messages. Hi, mom, how's everything, to your brothers and your sisters. Keep a close relationship with your family, even if it's through WhatsApp, even if it's through phone calls. You don't realize how important it is to keep these family ties and how positive effect it will have in your relationship. And then invite them to learn, invite them to participate in some of the things that you do. Take them to an iftar in Ramadan, for example. Show them the masjid at Jum'ah when people go to pray. to help to educate them and so they can feel a part of it. Explain to them why you don't eat certain things. Cook a halal meal for them if they don't, buy their own, buy your own halal meats and stuff, and then cook for them and show them it's just the same meat. It doesn't taste any different. It's the same thing. It's just slaughtered slightly differently, and so on. And then the final one is patience. Keep patience. This takes time. Think about this. You as a Muslim, if one of your family members, a'udhu billah min dhalik, we seek a refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from that, left Islam, you'd be devastated. Imagine your family are practicing Christians or practicing Hindus or Buddhists or whatever they are, and they find out their child has left that religion. In their eyes, their child has lost salvation. You have some empathy. That hurts them. Or they've left their culture, their way of life. They named you John out of love and care, right? They love that name. That was their grandfather's name. It's a tradition to call people John, for example. And then suddenly your name is Yahya or Abdul Raqib or Abdul Razak or Abdullah or Muhammad. That hurts them. They chose that name out of love for you, right? As a side note, changing the name is not an obligation in Islam, unless the name has really, really bad connotations to it, like, polytheistic meanings and stuff like this. But generally, it's not an obligation to change your name in the first place. So I hope that some of these tips or some of these ideas can help you, and always return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to facilitate and ease your situation. Have patience with them. They will come around. It may take a year or more, but in the end, they will come around if you show the respect that they deserve as your family. And remember, keep in the back of your mind that family tie, or the forefront of your mind rather, that family ties are a vital part of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to keep the family ties, right? What we call silat al-rahim is an obligation in Islam, and those that cut off the rahim, this is actually considered a major sin, to cut off family ties in totality. And in general, we do not differentiate between the Muslim and the non-Muslim. The only time it's permissible and allowed, as the scholars of Al-Islam mention, to cut the family ties is when keeping the family ties will lead to great harms in your religion or in your health. So, if they're going to harm you physically or abuse you physically or mentally, or they're going to force you to convert or these types of things, then this is obviously the time where you will cut ties. But other than that, keep in mind that you should keep the family ties, and inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will facilitate for our revert or convert brothers and make things easy for them. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.